Zorma, how you doing? So much for radio silence. We're streaming now. That was the intro, I suppose. It's Ben here from Second Dynasty. And what you will notice is today I don't have my copy of Maya in front of me, although I will get it out later. I haven't changed the information for this stream, I see. So I'm just going to... I need to change it because it's no longer Notanante work in progress. We have had our questionnaire survey out on what to rename the Notanante ship because, hey, it's cheeky to use Notanante. It's a little too close to the Rossi. Hi, John, in chat and elsewhere. Yeah, we're getting very close to D-Day because, in fact, on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central European time, so that will be somewhere in the morning for you guys in the US, sometime fairly late at night, I think closer to midnight if you're in Oz, or at least on the East Coast where I'm from. And that is when we're going live with the next ship, which is actually going to be called the Sleipnir. Sleipnir being, of course, the mythological eight-legged horse of Odin. It has somewhat of a Nordic theme, and that was the top vote with 43 votes. Second place was the Dulcinea, which was also a Don Quixote reference. For those who don't know, the Rocinante from The Expanse is a Don Quixote reference. And yeah, I am a bit stressed because just in another... couple of hours, we're actually going to film the pitch video. We have the studio set up. I wish it could have been at the right time to live stream, but I don't really have the equipment for it either. I've just implemented one of the stretch goals. Today, we're going to look at the actual Kickstarter page. It's not fully finished. We don't have like previews of all the stretch goals in. We don't have the pitch video. The start graphic you see there is temporary, but we will have something that we can share the link for hopefully later today, latest tomorrow, so that we can start pitching this for our September 9th release. Getting exciting, eh, Zaroma?
I'm here. Hey guys, how you doing? I want to say we're all excited to get this going and started, and really, really looking forward to getting this thing totally up and running. And it's definitely stressful thinking about all the projects and stuff going on, getting lighting kits ready and minis and things painted and everything all ready to go in time.
I'm kind of doing that in the background, to be honest. I hope it's not too distracting for people. In fact, I guess I can switch cameras. Let's see. Just want to make sure I'm still... Can you speak a bit, Zoroma?
Wow.
Oh, you John, you voted for the Screaming Fire. Hang on a second. That wasn't coming out.
John, you're muted.
No. John's in the chat, man. Let's see. That should be that. And then that should be... Okay, my microphone's coming through, but I'm not getting Zorma.
John's muted. He muted himself.
No, I'm talking about you, man.
Fine, right?
Yeah. On the stream, the audio wasn't coming through. It's OBS, not you. It's just like when I switch to this camera. I'm going to just pan this down. And you guys can see a little bit what I'm working on. It's a shitty camera, but you guys, anyone that's got my Instagram might have noticed, this is one of the add-ons. It's actually a rover. Something to get on those alien planets and explore. It is articulated, sticks together as usual with some open locks. I'm just frantically getting it ready for the set tonight, so I thought I'd just pan down and show you what I'm working on. It was on my Instagram. Hey, Kroll Brian. Yes, you did make it. Alright, I'm going to put my mug up again and we'll get back to the screen and have a look. Okay, so the campaign. Let's talk about that, because there's three main elements to this campaign. Well, four if you count the lighting, but the lighting will be an add-on, which is optional, and it won't be included with any of the pledges. And the reason for that is Zorima is handling the lighting, and it's also a physical product, so it's going to require addresses, a little bit more logistics and that sort of thing. It'll be coming from the US, so keep that in mind if you're keen for it. Before we dig into the actual site, Zorima, do you want to speak a little bit about the lighting and what we've done here? And I can maybe get up the model and show the initial lighting kit. We may have more through the campaign as it progresses, other areas of the ship, but we're starting with the engines.
Sure. We've basically diligently tested and backed around with building a lighting kit that's simplistic in the sense that it fits into the motor housing and it doesn't require any actual wiring or soldering or anything funky like that. Pretty much, it's just a plug and play system. You take the package, you open it up, you'll stick the lights into the engine itself, and that big central housing area there. There's the lights, see, bottom. And
Yep.
in the central housing area, which is the fusion core, there's a battery stored in there that you basically just, you know, put the battery in there. It can be a 9 volt or it can be a coin cells. It's a plug and play. You can pull it out and put a different housing in depending on your battery needs and size and weight and all that you want to use in there. A 9 volt battery lasts for days. A couple of coin cells that you could plug in there would last for basically a full gaming session at least. So there you go, lights. They're pretty bright, and when you put them down on the ground, it makes it look like an actual, like you can see the lighting effects of the engine coming on. And there's a switch that'll be on the outside of the housing that you can actually just flip on and off rather than having to like dig into the thing and ruin the whole setup look. So you can just
Well,
turn
yeah, we
it
might
on.
have to lengthen the cables for that to be possible. But
We'll change the length of the cables accordingly once we get some more info on that. But that's the final part of dealing with this situation. There's some other future potential lighting kits that'll be coming out that we've already worked on, but we need to define the housing for them yet. This one's been thoroughly tested, and as you can see, he's got the bottom and section of the ship well painted, so it's going to look beautiful, especially with those lights.
yeah, so they just sort of slot in and are fed. I can kill a couple of layers. Oh, sorry, I've done it again. Here we go. I'm back to Maya. I can kill a couple of layers here so that we can see the inner workings of the top couple of decks here. Oh, and I can kill the... Where is it? Somewhere here, side view ports there. So you can sort of see the engine room here. We have the top and it has a little hole in it. And this is intended to be where the switch would just sit up through. Now this might require just a little bit more prototyping, a little bit lengthening. And really here I was going to have it integrated, but really we need it to sit just underneath.
You need to do a slide switch, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but the one I have at the moment is just the round one. But yeah, we're switching to a smaller sort of light indeed. Is it a different STL to fit the lighting kit and then a French yes? No, it is not we. It is no. It's the same model. It'll be integrated for everyone, so you won't need to use any different parts than the standard ones for the actual ship for the lighting. So I've tried to build it in. I think people will be happy. Some of the other places we might use lighting, there might be an alternative part, but that was going to happen anyway because we wanted a different sort of thing. So I'm just going to quickly, let's see. We need a title for this session. It's like Kickstarter Preview.
I guess it is. Pretty much is, right?
Yeah, indeed. Kickstarter on the 9th of September. Later than I wanted to start, but if I had my way, I'd probably keep delaying and delaying. 5,000 plus viewers. As to the number of pieces, John, do you mean in the engine section, or do you mean... I'm talking to John in the chat, by the way, as I remember to see on the same page. The overall ship... Oh, God, I wouldn't like to... Oh, there is a very primitive boarding tube being done. That's because our set is trying to emulate the famous scene from the first episode of Season 4 for The Expanse, where the Rossi lands on the planet, Illus. So yeah, this is currently being prototyped. We'll probably just have a dodgy version of it for the photo shoot because you won't see it too much.
They had
Hopefully.
I thought they had a straight ramp when they basically landed on the planet, but when they did the ship to ship, they had that kind of expanding tube
Oh
thing.
no, they land by a cliffside, and there is it just shoots straight out the side of the ship. Trust me, I've checked out that footage so many times. But yeah, we do have some solutions. It's going to be fun as usual to get involved in another campaign. It's been a while, so I'm pepped. We're going to run through to the 4th of October, so it's a little bit shorter. I wanted to try 3 weeks, but my mini factory didn't have a time slot any sooner for our final run. My mini factory is going to be doing the pledge delivery again. Their systems have come a long way now. They've had, I think, 20 other Kickstarters since mine, and they've developed the tools a whole heap more, so hopefully it should be far less painful than last time. There is much better support, and we're going to also be able to have the pledge manager activating. Late pledges, we can take them straight away at the end of the campaign. Although, if you guys pledge during the campaign, we still won't be porting your information until Kickstarter's paid the campaign funds through. So it'll still be, a 2 week period before anything's actually released. So I don't want anyone to fret if they're on the Kickstarter. No one's getting ahead of them or anything. Even if someone does a late pledge, they're not actually getting anything until it's time to launch. So let's get to the Kickstarter page itself.
Wait, a couple questions on that. I know it's going to come up. One, do I get the same if I do a Kickstarter, if I join the Kickstarter as a late pledger, do I get the same benefits and the same costs? People are going to ask that.
The late pledge, at least initially, everything will be at the same price. My mini factory is supporting higher prices later on, but my general go-to will be closing the Starship 4 pledge manager this weekend. We've had it open the whole time because this just ended up being a bit later, and being COVID and that, you don't want to overcharge people. So I've kept it open.
I can't say that you will have one benefit that you would not get later, which is there's a benefit for a discount on filament that we'll be providing to those who purchased during the actual Kickstarter, because
That's right. Yeah, tell us more about that.
Running that will give you a 10% discount on filament from one vendor. So when you want to buy a bunch of filament to build your ship, you'll be able to get a discount, pass that on to you. Also, there will be a discount on the lighting kit, because the lighting kit that's optional, will be a little cheaper because I can bulk ship it at that time, so that'll be easier. So there'll be less cost. But later there would be a higher cost because it depends on your individual shipping, of course.
Yeah, indeed. But in general, this ship, you're probably looking at 5 kilos of plastic. That 10% on, let's call it $20 a piece, paying $90 instead of 100. That's a decent savings. Can't argue with that. Anyway, Zorima was awesome and set that up for us. So yeah, we have, and it's good quality filament too.
Filamentum is the company.
Filamentum, yeah. And at present, they have factories in the UK and in the US. So friendly shipping for, in theory, Europe and definitely North America, right?
Yes, that's true. And we're working on I'm still trying to get somebody for Australia, or work out with them shipping to Australia. But so we'll try and do something for that too. But I don't think that's going to make it before the actual promo. So they might have a separate sale for that later.
Possibly, but in any case, guys, we're trying to think about you who are actually making these things. I realized that these are very complicated models. At the end of the day, also, it's a small business behind them. I really appreciate everyone that helps me prototype these things. I wish there were a few parts that maybe need some more prototyping. That issues that come up. So I do appreciate people pointing out issues, and we're happy to help get them sorted. We've had a couple this week, so there are actually some updates to the Scout. Sorry, not the Scout. Transport Delta has a hole in the upper rear hole, a tiny one. It's almost big enough that just a base coat of paint will cover it. But that should no longer be an issue in the most recent version. And then the Shuttle Alpha, the new high detail parts of the interior on many slices were coming up with some holes in the sides. I didn't quite notice it when I did the test prints because it wasn't throwing up any errors. But those holes have been patched, and I know some people will be really happy. The forward landing gear flaps that have been quite flimsy have been reinforced and joined to the actual holes, so that they should, in theory, print a lot better and a lot more stable than they have in the past. But yes, let's get to the meat of the show. Oh wait, hang on, we've got some questions here. Have I shared the Kickstarter in the Expanse social groups, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, etc.? No, I haven't. And one of the reasons for this, well, there's two reasons. First, the campaign's not quite live yet. I want to add some more graphics and things to it before I want to have like the ability so that you guys can go and reserve the page. So when it comes to that time, you'll get an email into your inbox. You can get on it right from the beginning. The other thing is I'm really shitty at promoting my own stuff. One of the things about crowdfunding is you rely a little bit on the crowd. So if there's anyone that does want to share these things on Reddit or Discord or Facebook, Twitter, different social medias, especially for the Expanse or hobbies I wouldn't think of, I'd be very happy to do that. Can be happy to chime in or that sort of thing, or provide some materials. But if it's not organic, if it's me going out and say, "Hello, buy my spaceship. I love my spaceship. Buy my spaceship," it's not really organic, and people get turned off by that. So I'd rather people, like, if they like it, they might share it and say, "Hey, this is awesome. Get on this boat," which is also what Zorima's there for. Oh, John, that's great. Let's see. The fact that every main part is printed before Kickstarter must make it a lot easier in what you are sending out. Yeah, so we've not only had the one prototype here, we've had a second one in the UK, which is the painted ship. Let's scroll down a little bit because, I made animations. So she's 82.8 centimeters, just around about 2 feet 9 inches tall from base to tip. If you want to just count up to the nose, she's 2 feet 5 inches or 73.6 centimeters. So she is quite tall, but she's not that wide. Only 10.5 inches, almost big enough that you could print it on a really, really big printer that didn't have a magical printer that never has mistakes. Parts-wise, I hazard to guess how many this is. I'm just going to look and see how many turn up when I select everything. There's 383 parts this is thrown up. It's probably about 50 or so less than that because we've got engine wash that is sort of modeled in to render decently, and some of these extra parts are on there. But yeah, interior and exterior, it was looking around 350 parts. Most of those parts are actually new, not recycled. So yeah, we have some animations. You can also see an animation of how our PDCs fold out. This is all print in place. I'm very happy with that, how that came out. And I should probably mention my settings have been just a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, printing at 150 microns on my Prusas, and that's sort of like the ballpark that I've been at. The only real different setting than standard I use is that the exterior perimeters are set to 0.42 millimeters instead of 0.45, which is standard for Prusas. But I noticed in Simplify 3D, if you don't set it to manual, it's usually set to 0.48. So really what this does is if you drop that down, it'll help pick up the details, especially around these smaller. Oh, sorry, these smaller parts here, like these sort of symbols and that sort of thing. These are quite narrow single extrusions when you're printing them. If you set down your well, you know, I'll probably publish my print settings, and I'm sure Zorima will make a nice print setting for. You work with Enders mostly, right? Or create it. What is
I
it
work
called?
with all printers, but yeah, we'll set up a Creality profile as well as uh, for Enders and various other printers like that, and as well as the profile settings for Prusa.
Yeah, yeah. These are John. These aren't textures; they are modeled in. So I like to do this kind of detail, and basically, I leave it up to your printer. If you're gonna print the whole thing at 200 microns, no worries. You're gonna get a decent looking result. It'll be a lot quicker. But if you do want to go like and do resin, RCS thruster clusters, or that sort of thing, you can push that detail out and see some of those features at really high fine detail. So that's a nice thing about 3D printing, that you can kind of like fine tune it. But it is one of those things where it's, especially when you're building something with 350 parts or whatever it was, you guys are probably going to notice one or two issues, I'm sure, that I've missed. Or that it'll be a case of, my process can pick it up and solve it, but other things can't. This time we're going to run all of the parts through NetFab, so hopefully those Cura issues that people have had, we're not going to have them. So
Some of the pop up, there is a support system in place to deal with that sort of stuff.
There is.
We're I guess more formally straightened out for such things.
Yeah, I kind of wish that more people would find the Discord, because I do get quite a lot of questions through, mostly through Facebook and directly to me. But I do try to help where possible. Here we have the sort of like side view. I think you guys have seen this graphic before. It's a render, just showing the different levels and features. So we have 11 decks in total. Ironic that the ship is called the Sleipnir, because Norse mythology is one of those things where there's no 100% version of things. Like they just agree on the fact that there are 9 worlds, but there's always dispute about what the 9th world actually is. Like whether it's Helheim, or whether it's Nidvalir, like the dwarven underworld. It just says 9 worlds, and then there's no great explanations. And I've written 11 decks, but you can kind of judge it, because the bridge deck 1 has an upper section, so is that 2 decks or 1? And then the engineering, it's like it takes up 2 decks, but it only counts, really it's 1 deck, right? Like it's just one double size deck.
One deck with the tall ceiling.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those things. Let's see. Then we have the isometric version. That's one of the beautiful things about 3D. You can get the isometric thing. We have the armory and suit lockers. After the bridge, we've got some living quarters, med bay, mess, officer suite. Then our cargo bay, pretty small cargo bay, but the Rossi had a very small one too, because it's a gunship. This does have 4 PDC, so it's not that bad. John, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe there are 9 decks. Whatever. It's still 2 feet 9 inches tall when it's scaled down. Oh yeah, I actually measured it out to how big the ship is, because the rough scale, it's like I think it's 1 to 59 or something like that. But I go by an inch is 5 feet. Basically the D&D standard, miniature layout for 28 mil. 28 mil plus, I should probably say. So the actual ship would be 49.5 meters, or 165 feet in length, or rather tall. And then the width and breadth is 15.7 meters, or 52 feet 6 inches. So still a good sized ship. I believe that if they were lying side by side, I want to say that the... Wait, what did I say? Is this actually... Yeah, that's 50 meters. I think it's about the exact same length as the... I'm going to have to check this out now. What did I write? Let's see, I need to go to my campaigns. I'll go to Starship 4. And we've got our lengths here somewhere. Here we go. So at scale, this is 54 meters. All right, so yeah, it's very close. The Chimera is another 4 meters longer at scale. But let's go back to this. And we can talk about stretch goals after we go through this stuff, depending on how... I can't stay forever because we're filming. I know I'm talking a lot, so interrupt me if we will, and we might get John on the line in a little bit to just discuss...
Interrupting. We have a print order. We have print order. Can people... You're selling the STL files, which is the whole point of this.
Yeah.
And the Kickstarter, but are we going to have a print to order system for people to be able to, that don't have a 3D printer, to be able to get a hold of this fine product?
Yeah, so we have thought about this a lot. And one of the reasons why is because obviously it's a much broader market if you can support that. We actually have a Patreon which is set up for extending... Everyone that buys this stuff, they get a non-commercial license, which means you can print it yourself or you can order it from a print company for yourself, but you can't resell it for profit. Then we have a Patreon set up that extends that license for every month that you want to be making ships to sell. You basically get on the get on the Patreon. It's only $25 a month, and you can during that month print how many ships you want and sell them. So what we're going to do is, rather than favoring one over the other, we're going to have a list of our Patreons that qualify for this service listed somewhere on the site. But you will have to contact them yourselves, but that's the best way to get in touch with them, essentially.
We'll provide you with information to contact them, of course.
Yeah, of course. And there should be basically printers from around the world. Anyway, with our interior, we go on to engineering, which I just showed you guys, basically the top part, and then we had the engine block there with the lighting system built in. So the idea being that this is some kind of fusion core. We don't worry about fuel or things like that. They don't seem to on the Expanse TV show in any case.
One more question relevant to the printers. Are
Yes.
they going to have access to this ship immediately, meaning at the end of this Kickstarter? Or are they having to do something to extend it to get access to this ship?
So basically, the way the license works is that if you need to own the files to be a licensed manufacturer, or you need to have a customer that owns the files. So basically, from when the ship gets released to everyone else, that's when they'll be able to start producing them. Because we also have to spend the time in between making sure our instructions are done and everything's ready. Like, it is printable, but one of the other reasons why we don't have this set up straight away is because I haven't made instructions for it yet, and I was working with Proteus 3D models in the UK to get that printed, but it was very much like print 2 of these, there was no instructions on how to assemble it or anything like that, and that's going to be necessary to do quality control. So the answer is, at the same time as everyone else, they can start manufacturing.
So they have to purchase a new license for this particular ship, of course, and then they basically will be able to do it as soon as the ship's released to everybody else.
Yep, that's correct.
Same kids that at the end of this, then they'll be shipped out after the 2 weeks once we have all the email addresses and all that worked out.
Yep.
Okay, so just that's one of the things people might ask, and those who want to produce hard copies for us, that we can work out how that works for them and let them know in this stream.
Yep. Oh God.
All right, and then there's software involved we were talking about, right?
There is, but we're going to do the minis first.
We're going to make John talk?
Oh, all right, fine. We'll jump ahead to the deck designer. So, John, do you want to just hop on?
Hello, my name is John. I've been here the whole time.
You have?
Yes,
But you've been in the chat. What? How does this work?
Welcome.
So welcome, John, to our little show.
Yeah. Thank you. Deck designer, may I say that it'll be previewed next week?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, during the Kickstarter run, the deck designer will have a preview next week with Ben, myself, and maybe Zoromar if he's alive. We'll see. But the fun part is it's a program that helps plan out your decks, going up and building a ship and seeing how they all connect together, like being able to open up a previous plan from someone else, be able to take out a part and say, hey, does this part fit here? Can I actually do this modification? And learning, no, that doesn't work, or, oh, maybe it does work. You have to figure that apart for yourself, I guess. But the fun part is you can share different things. The save files can be shared across, and if they have those bundles, they can open them. It's going to make it to where it can give you a print list. Later versions, not the one when the Kickstarter finally finishes and the first version is released in the beta thing. For more people, I guess. I'm not sure how you want to handle that, Ben. I think so you said that's after the Kickstarter's over, right?
Yeah, after the Kickstarter's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're intending to have a demo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this should be something that people can download and test just to have a run, right?
Yeah, but it won't actually support doing the export to a print list. It won't give you...
It'll be a viewer.
Yeah. It won't give you your beautiful, take your STL files and also put them together into a little folder, say print 3 of these, print 4 of those, print 1 of these mirrored, print 1 of these regular, and feed that all to you.
But eventually.
Oh, yes. Those are just saying the demo that will be available to more people will have a lot of features removed intentionally.
Right. But it will give you an idea of what we're providing and how we're providing something so that you guys can find all the files and stuff and mix and match various products that Ben has so that it's a little bit more controlled.
When we go into the stretch goals, I believe about 15% of them are devoted to the deck designer, about that? Or is it 20?
I think it's 25% actually. But basically, that's a good point, John. We're going to do basically every other stretch goal is going to be ship related, and then we'll alternate with the other ones between the deck designer and the miniatures, which I'll talk about after John's finished.
There might be some lighting ones too later.
Possibly, yeah.
I want to hear about your stuff.
The airlock one is questionable, right? You're not happy with it.
Sorry?
The airlock one is questionable. You're not happy with that
one. I think we'll get to it, but did you want to have that as a separate thing or just make it as a part of the lighting kit? Because, we just haven't...
It's a separate kit, but I don't know whether or not you want to...
I'm sure we'll get to it within the time. I don't think it'll necessarily be tied to a stretch goal. I think it'll be more like we did last time, where we want to have some milestones in the campaign to pick up people's interest, and maybe in week 2 or 3 or something like that, we'll launch some other light kits.
Okay, because we had this stuff in the command deck we were talking about, but I think that got put on permanent hold with the lighting for there.
Not entirely. You mean with the screens?
Other lighting kits for other ships for Ben that I'm working on with myself, so that he doesn't have to spend his time modding stuff. But if there's an interest in this, then that'll make it more of that happening, so to speak.
Yeah, in fact, I would say the purchase of the light kits will definitely determine what we do with them moving forward.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. Do you want to keep going, or?
Oh, go ahead. I want to hear the stretch goals. It's my favorite part of a campaign is what we stretch for, what we try to achieve.
Well, I mean, I can mostly speak to the ship stretch goals, but right now, since we're talking about the deck designer stuff, we do have lots of plans for what to do with that. Technically, it will run currently on Mac and Linux, but we want to add a little budget for supporting that as one of the first things, so that pretty much anyone that's got some kind of personal computer should be able to run it. Then we're talking about adding stuff like... well, actually, John, why don't you go over that, since that's your forte, what we've talked about. You got the list.
As we're going through the stretch goals, when we get to the different deck designer ones, they're in this order. We're going to be adding Mac and Linux true support, not just build and hope it runs on your end, but actually taking those times to make sure, give us actual support time. Because if you just dump something for people, it may not work right. We're also adding in color support to where the parts go different colors. Right now, they're all gray. It's the most beautiful color in the world, but we're going to eventually restore that. Then we're going to be adding materials support. Now, material support is not exactly what it sounds like. It's not to send to a 3D printer. It's just for visualization. It's just for the purpose of making things look easy, look prettier when you're playing with it. And it's going to support generated textures, procedural, I think is what you call them, right, Ben?
Yeah,
You're
procedural.
not talking like FPLA versus ABS or crap like
We're
that.
not
right?
talking printing at all. We're talking about in the viewer. It will be kind of like looking at a 3D model that's got textures on it.
All right, cool.
For example, and also part of that will be supporting importing materials from 3D models. If you happen to have a modeled and textured one that you have already specified your warning banner and everything, those pretty little stuff, it could try to support that. It's still on being figured out on that side, but I do know procedural work. We on the fourth stretch goal for deck designer, we want to bring in tutorial mode. And that's a big one that I really want to hit because it'll make it to where it'll step you through how to actually assemble whatever the file. And that will be made by humans, not the computer, just AI guessing how it's built. But the human will specify here's step one, here's step two, and it will present it to the person one at a time, and they can step through just like a more interactive Lego tutorial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The other one is interesting to me is the number 5 is the one I think Zermer would like, the STL file manager / handler. That's when it actually starts up. It alerts you to STL updates for your Second Dynasty parts. It tells you when things need to be changed or when you have something new to get. It also prepare the folders. When you do a print list, you can specify also create a folder and it'll put a copy of all the STLs you need. So you can pop that on an SD card. The names will have added to the front of them the quantity of them. If there's a mirrored one, it'll be specified with an M, then the quantity as a separate. So you can just go through that little just like an LCD. Don't 3D printers have just a simple display sometimes?
Yeah, yeah.
You can and just read it and say, oh, I need to mirror this, etc. And it will spit all that out for you.
That's awesome. Like it's more than I imagined because really the story behind this. I know you guys aren't seeing my face anymore because I'm doing a bit of multitasking. The whole point of this thing was to make everyone's lives easier. This was brought to me by one of my backers. Oh, what was his name again? Help me, John.
I have his name, but I want to watch you suffer. And I'll tell you. I'm pulling his name now too.
You guys do that. We throw in, Ben, what's our wonderful cost on all this stuff we've talked about?
A segment.
Oh, sorry, what?
How much you charging?
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that as well. There are a few more stretch goals for the deck design, but we might leave that until later. Basically, I know it's COVID. I know I'm selling more ships than I used to, which basically means I can drop the cost down. So whilst the Chimera, which is a comparable ship in size and weight, maybe it's slightly heavier, was 600 crowns or just about $65 for the base ship. Here we're going for 300 crowns. That's about $34 US.
What a savings! I'll take 12.
You haven't quite understood how this works, John. Then, of course, we have the crew, 125 crowns. Actually, you know what? We can scroll down to the actual pledge levels. We'll come back for the miniatures. I have a handy pledge matrix here. I'm a bit in the way here, but you can see here that we have bundles up to and including everything except Zorma's black kits, and that's because they need to be separate. I can't just guarantee one to every collector that comes along because we don't know how much the shipping will cost or anything like that. And it's an extra cost on top of my costs. So the lighting kits will only be as add-ons, but we have something very much resembling what we had last time. We've got, if you just want to get in for $1 on the pledge manager, save a spot for later, if we do decide to, increase the prices or whatever, you'll be safe and get the Kickstarter stuff. I should also mention, if you are a returning backer, we're going to give you extra cash on the pledge manager. So, I'm trying to think of ways to make it good even for the collector by maybe adding some, exclusive stuff on there. I'm not sure. Maybe that will actually work out so that you could, get the lighting kit as a part of it. I'm not sure yet because we need to figure out the shipping side of things. But that's my current thinking for rewarding returning backers, that you'll get at least $10, if not more, on the pledge manager to spend on add-ons or whatever, perhaps lighting kits. We'll get back to that in the future. But yeah, we go all the way up from like just getting the deck designer, around about $14 US. It will be a more robust program. I don't know what it'll cost in the future, but basically what you're funding is the prototyping here, so that together with John we can make all these awesome features. Then we have the crew miniatures, same price, 5 miniatures to start, but this one's definitely gonna end with more because these ones are done by Popsicles, an awesome cyberpunk miniature designer, and then we also have an add-on set that I can show you guys later. That is from the Cult of Pickle. That's more spacesuit themed, and there's not just 5 in there. There's actually 14 variants. We have our ship pledge, ship plus miniatures, ship plus deck designer, all 3. That's your base pledge if you want everything. 500 crowns or about $60, a little bit less. Then the all in, that'll include all of these extra packages. So far, there will be at least one more. I feel like I should probably put the camera back up and talk to you guys.
I kind of like not seeing your face.
Oh, John, you're such a polite gentleman. Is it that bad? I'll scroll down to these campaign exclusive add-ons. This will include all of the new stuff that we're adding, except for the lighting kits, for the price of $93. Or 800 crowns. That's still like a drop by 200 crowns from the Chimera one. And the items themselves are worth almost 1,000 crowns just by themselves. And then the Fleet Commander, if you want all our ships, this will include all the Kickstarter versions of our ships and that new stuff. And then basically the Collector 5 is everything we've done. Everything but you can see from the graphic. Everything but the kitchen sink and the light kits. So that's our pledge levels. Then we have these exclusive add-ons. So these are the suits from the Cult of Pickle. I need to add some extra stuff, but you can see there are sitting poses. There are standing
will those
poses.
fit in the seats?
Oh yes, they will.
Oh yes.
And in fact, one of the first stretch goals for the standard 5 crew members of the Sleipnir are actually going to have seated poses. We're going to have also 0G poses. As you can see at the back, we've got some for these suits. So these are basically like for when you're out of the ship, and the other ones are sort of for when you're in the ship. Then I've done a Chimera variant. This is one of the things I wanted to do. I realize my little screen here, I'm not sure where, this is it, right? Yes. So I can move this around. Yeah, this is a bit better, I think. Not to mention I keep looking at the other screen, so this looks like I'm actually looking at the page. So I've actually made a new variant of the Chimera called the Pegasus, illustrating the modularity of the Chimera kit. This one will be a standalone ship. I'm probably going to have an upgrade add-on, so because this does use maybe 80-85% of the same parts as a standard Chimera. So if you have the stretch, especially if you have the Kickstarter version, you've got most of the parts. This turns it into a Starliner, so it's all about a passenger ship. Actually, just something simple. This one's only 2 feet long, so it's a little bit lighter, smaller than even the Pathfinder, but still a nice size ship that and I'm able to offer this price because of that recyclability of the parts and the deck designers where it all comes together, where you guys can start designing ship variants yourself and really taking that Lego concept and running with it. This one has just got a pause button on it, or you could read it as Roman numerals for 2, because yes, I'm going to do another Starfighter modular system. We had some cockpit designs we couldn't get to. We've also had a few people in our audience suggesting much smaller ships, just 6-inch interiors sort of things, 3-inch interiors, like tiny runabouts or that sort of thing. Not saying it will, but there's a good chance that we might do something in that vein as a part of this sort of collection. So that's the same sort of pricing and expectation as the other. Then we have what I'm working on here, the Rover. This was designed by Mikael Blomqvist, who interned for me this spring. He's into vehicles, cars in particular, so we sort of like found a way to work together on something that would work with the ship landing on a planet. And it will probably fit in the cargo bay. It's not that big. In fact, I can test that right now.
Front wheels look kind of fragilely connected.
But they're not on at the moment. So it does actually fit in. The only thing is it's a bit wide to fit out the door. So I figured they'd probably put it on its side or something like that. I really should not have a wet paint item in that. It's just a bonus sort of thing. We might even get some of the miniatures. I'm not sure if they fit in these seats, but we can certainly get them posed to do so. I test printed a version.
Wheels, but the wheels are retractable.
They would be in a proper sort of scenario. These it's hard to see. This is one of the prototype ones, but there's actually going to be pegs on these wheels at the front, so you can change the height of them. But yes, and then of course, working with Papsicles, I've also secured. It'll actually be 8 drone-style miniatures and mechs. The Expanse mentions having war mechs and working mechs and all kinds of
Who did
sort
the
of.
mechs?
So these are already designed and made. Technically, you can go and buy them right now from Papsicles. So I'm really excited to have that cooperation. Who knows? We might also do something with Pickle. Although most of his stuff has been more fantasy up until now, if I'm not mistaken.
Both?
Oh, both. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking of another. Those are our planned add-ons. But, I'm thinking maybe we need a patrol boat version of the Pegasus as well. So maybe I'll design something there. Who knows? But in any case, you're getting that extended one. Let's say 2, 350, 450, 600. There you go. There's 600 crowns worth of materials just there. If you want to go for the 800 all in versus the 500. So yeah, half price.
So worst case scenario, about $60 US for everything, all in, all the everything. But you can get the ship design and the basics for what, $50 to $40.
Oh, you can get the ship, just the ship itself for $35, less than $35.
There you go.
So, and if you just want the miniatures, less than 15.
It's not printed, of course. If you want, that's you getting STL files only and printing it yourself.
That's right.
Yes.
We don't actually print anything ourselves. It's just not a part of my business model.
Except for our people that do it for us.
Yes.
We'll give you a list too.
So I think, it's mostly just the miniatures now. I was trying to pull up File Explorer on a different page to see if I can find a higher resolution image. I think I've saved it somewhere. Let's see. Maybe this is cut out. But I think you guys are seeing this now. So I can move myself again down the bottom a little bit. So you can just roughly see the detail that's gone into these awesome paint jobs. These are scaled down to 28 millimeters. I believe we also have them at about 32 that are pre-supported. so we have these 5 miniatures to start. This being the actual crew of the Sleipnir. So yeah,
I want to be the crazy scientist.
he's not a crazy scientist.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
He is a belter, or rather, I'm calling them spacers. So the reason he's so tall is because he's he's been born in space, so he's a lot taller without gravity to push down the weight
Sure,
on
and it
his
also
body.
affects his brain and makes him a mad scientist.
It does
Exactly.
kind of. Well,
Herman and I
also
agree.
his head is a little bit bigger as well. That's how they explain belters in the Expanse, and basically, yeah, the human body will do strange things. Well, we don't know 100% yet, but we know enough that yeah, if you were born in space, you wouldn't be able to come back to Earth because you're not used to the gravity, and B, you would be taller, and your head would probably be bigger. So yeah, that's why he is so tall and lanky, and the hair thing, as much as anything, is also that his hair's out, and he's in a 0G environment, maybe standing with mag boots. So the other characters, yeah, they I think it's like some of the most awesome miniatures we've had so far, and I'm really happy with the suits as well. It blends well with our existing stuff, and like I said, basically we're going to get new poses, and the higher the stretch goals we get, basically we'll add to the crew of the Sleipnir, and I'll turn to you guys to figure out who those crew members are going to be, because we've got basically your engineer, your pilot, your sort of captain, your sort of weapons officer, that sort of thing, medical. There's lots of roles we can fill, and you guys can help me with that. But we're actually coming up pretty close to the hour now, so I'm going to close this off, and we're going to take one last sweet look at the Sleipnir, as it's come to be named, people's choice in names. And the next time you see this ship should hopefully be down on the set. So I don't think I can stream it, because my streaming rig's tied to my PC. But we should take a pretty awesome pitch video tonight. It might take the weekend to actually get something out, but I want to, by tomorrow latest, have a page that you guys can go reserve, so that when it comes to Wednesday night, we can make a real impression, get the ball rolling. According to my mini factory, according to Kickstarter itself, things are actually pretty good for Kickstarters at the moment. So I'm hoping we might be able to break some personal records there. If not, hey, it's COVID. Hopefully you guys like the work, and if the actual Sleipnir doesn't appeal to you as a ship, we do have all those other horizontal variants that you can look at, and the deck designer will really help take these parts and customize it. And we'll be sure to add some parts to the Sleipnir as well, so that you can change the size.
Cool new projects coming up.
We do have a cool new project after that as well, yeah.
And besides, I've actually looked at these parts now. And even if for some crazy reason you're messed up and you don't like this ship, a lot of the parts on the inside are so cool. I love the growing ones, the plant ones.
Oh yeah, I've actually got, where is it? Here it is. Yeah, I got these done in resin, so I can.
Yeah.
And they
Kitchen
actually
parts.
fit in other ships. They work. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Spend the money just for those pieces. That's it. Just for those.
Well, yeah, you'll be definitely getting your money's worth. $30 will get you what did I say? 300 files. So, that's what, 10 cents a file. That's pretty cheap.
It's cool how everything's open lock, that's for sure.
Yes, everything's open lock. It's a free system, easy to get the parts. I also have a free clip expansion thing on my mini factory, which lets you actually adds a whole host of new clips to help in different situations. My favorite one is, now I have a hinge joint open lock clip, so you can actually use it for doors and things. And we actually have one that works down here when the engines are not going and you land on a planet. We have we have this this little escape hatch here, which comes down with a lift, which reminds me I've got to print the final version of the lift. But it is functional. This clip will work like that. It's static right now just because of the way Maya's set up. It hasn't been animated. But yeah, I'm really proud of that one. And then we also have a few clips here. You can't see them there, but they're sort of holding the parts in place. So it's a bit fiddly. Yeah, we have the lovely PDCs too, which everything, all of the hinges are print in place. So you got a good setup on your FDM. You should be able to get similar results to mine, where basically you get these hinged parts where they don't require assembly. They're just something you go for. And ultimately what we'd like to accomplish with John is the ability to, instead of having PDFs or instructions, which you can't, move around, look at different angles, you'll be able to actually get into the 3D file, look at the different levels, isolate them if you want, and essentially see what parts you can easily swap out and whatnot. So yeah, through stretch goals we'll add some additional modularity, new weapon systems, new features, and of course they'll be open up to suggestions. We've already had quite a few, and I'm sure once the campaign kicks off, you guys will keep me busy for the next month. I won't be sleeping very much. I won't be having many days off, but that's all a part of it. So sorry, John?
Excitement abounds. I almost can't wait.
Just 5 more days. All right, guys, let's wrap this up here. Sorry, Zarma?
So the concurrent viewers that are on, which we're near the end of the stream, so if anybody has any last minute questions, now's the time to ask, I think.
Oh, now is the time to ask. Like I said, I really have a bit of a stress day today, so we're going to have to tie this off pretty much straight away.
I'm saying my farewell now. That way I don't get cut off.
Probably a good idea. Thank you very much, John, for joining us. Thank you very much, Zorima, as usual. I'm really excited to show you guys all the hard work that we've been doing here. I think it's really going to pay off, and you're really going to enjoy the lighting kits, the ship, the paint job, the set, and eventually the deck designer. So, alright guys, this is Ben from Second Dynasty, signing off one last time before the campaign, because the next stream will be live. Bye guys.
Bye.